Whenever we are working in an organization, it's very difficult to prove our impact to our managers, stakeholders, and also can be difficult for us to gain our self-confidence. So in this video, we are going to bring you back a shorter version of an online session that we have conducted with Ivy Mukherjee, who has worked with a bunch of companies starting from Blinkit, Shopify, Grab, Bumble, and now she is with Inscribe.ai. So in this video, she is going to share with you how to grow as a designer. How can you prove your importance, your impact to your stakeholders. So without further ado, let's go to the session. But if you like this video, make sure to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel.
So yeah, I'm Ivy. I generally love to discuss different aspects of ecosystems, problems, all of that. I love that phases. I love interesting discussions where we can agree to disagree on many topics. Apart from that, I generally am I'd like to say obsessed. Yeah, obsessed with food, gin, and different cultures. I like to travel for food, the big foodie. So yeah, that's very briefly who I am. And Rohan gave a really good overview of what I have done. But yeah, very quickly, I'll just talk to you about my professional experiences. So currently I'm working in Bumble as a senior product designer in their London office. Previously, I was with Grab. Grab is a super app who solves almost all of your daily needs, from food delivery to grocery to payments to transportation, everything. I was leading their help center and customer support experiences from there. So that was in Singapore. Before that, I was with Shopify. Shopify's growth team and analytics team back in Canada. And long back, I was with Ola in their driver partners platform. And these are just few places, to be honest. But before that, also, I was in a few other places. So yeah, today I'm going to just talk about how to maximize your impact as a designer in an organization. So if we think about this whole sentence, two words which actually are very important. One is impact. Another one is how to maximize it, right? And this is often a topic which I get asked about, how do you create impact in a team, in a company, and make yourself much more valuable, right? And this conversation comes up very often during your performance review sessions. So I was even trying to think about it and came up with this idea that how do we go about it? So before looking into that, how do you do it? Let's try to understand what exactly impact is, right? So impact is basically making demonstrable contribution to change people's lives. And how do you do that? You do that via your skill sets. You do that with your knowledge. You can do that with your behavior. You will also do it via the decision making and with your communication. Now, all these things which I'm talking about very much implies to your professional life. And if you think about all of this, you can think that, which kind of impact you can create. The next part is, the mantra which I believe with, and it's very, very important in any organization you work in, be it small, medium, big, anything. So the thing is, you don't grow alone because you can't grow alone. You make your teams grow, and that's how you start creating impact in an organization. And that's what you want to do in a nutshell, because if you are just creating impact for yourself, people will not see it. So you have to show them that, you are doing something for them as well. Now, let's see which kind of impacts are there. As for me, personally, I believe there are three components of impact, which are, one of them is the personal impact. Another one is the teams in which you are in, the team impact. And the next one, which is the hardest one, is the organizational impact. Now, thinking about a personal impact, what exactly personal impact means. Now, the way I see it is basically, it is the understanding of how the actions, you are taking can positively change your future. Now, you are always taking actions, you are always making decisions. If you want to wake up at 6, that's also a decision you are making, right? And whenever you are taking any decisions, you have to think about how it will change something, how it will change maybe your future, because you're thinking about your personal impact, right? And this positive part is very important because every decision you take has its positive reaction, neutral reaction maybe, and can have negative reaction too. So we have to think before doing anything. That's the decision making part. And how you can be with all of this, you have to be an invaluable asset. That's the dream. That's the goal of how you want to see it. The second part is team impact. Now, we often talk about this highly rated teams, how do these teams functions, etc. all of this. But if we think about the team impact as a whole, the team impact is measured by their efficiency, the business results which they're bringing in, and they're continuously outperforming themselves in anticipated productivity. Now, what do I mean by that? Efficiency can be in different aspects, right? The amount of work you are doing in a very X amount of time frame, and the kind of business results, the kind of impact you are getting by doing that work done and continuously doing it. And by continuously doing it, you are basically outperforming the other teams. So yeah, these are the 3-4 things in which the team impact actually comes together. So that's how a team impact is being measured in many organizations. And the last one is the organization impact. Organization impact happens when certain measures which they have taken has promoted improvement in culture and employees' well-being. And now this is very much qualitative. I have not delved into the quantitative part because it's the business aspect of it, how much they're growing, how much they're earning, the revenue, etc. all of that. This is very qualitative because employees are the bare bone of the organization, right? And if you think about this whole ecosystem, the personal impact, the team impact, the organization impact, you will see that everything is stitched together. Everything has to come together to have this huge organizational wise impact. If the employees are doing well, if the employer is taking care of their employees' well-being, then they're much more motivated to do the work they want to do. And the kind of improvement they're trying to see with the management, with the culture, if there is work-life balance, all of these kind of examples, that's when a huge amount of organization impact happens. So that's the kind of impact which we're talking about. And that's the type of impact how I see. Now, the next part is, now that we have known about the impact, the question is how to go to the next level, the impact framework, right? So some fellow designers, always ask me, how can I exceed the expectations? Or to go to the next level. So these are the kind of few tips which I usually share and I usually try to follow. And that can help you accelerate the process to create impact and understand how people perceive you. First things first is reusability by default. I mean, it says for itself, but the idea is we often try and build components from scratch as designers, which might look very shiny, very desirable, all these gradients, anything, right? But we also need to start thinking about systems design. We talk sometimes about it, but we have to start believing in it. And this is very important, that how existing components can help expedite the product development process, because that's what you are building, right? A product. And also think about the never ending tech debt in the engineering teams, right? And think about, that you don't grow alone part, because that is very important over here. You don't want to overload the engineers when you can simplify the process. While building concepts, try and reuse the existing components to build a brand identity, because everything has to look like they're coming from one brand, right? So reusing might need a bit of creative thinking initially, but moves us directly into floor 9 instead of starting from 0. So these are a few examples, but probably there are more. So reusability by default is very important, because you are trying to make sure that, the engineers are also efficient in that process. You're trying to bring a brand identity together. So it's very, very important. So how can we practice this much more? Second one is using tools and libraries. The easiest way to basically slow down your impact is to reinvent the wheel all the time. Now, if certain tools or libraries which we have already that allows us to get where we need faster, we should use them, obviously, right? Engineers in particular will not be measured, suppose say complexity, but on the simplicity. And so are you. You are going to be measured on how you help others succeed in their impact as well. So make a hard or impactful problem simple, and you will receive all the kudos, all the cheers, and etc. right? And if you do the opposite, you will probably work much more long hours and don't have much good ratings, because people need to know the impact which you are bringing. So if there are already existing tools and libraries to make your work much more smoother, to make the prototype faster, to show something which can become a growth experiment, do that. Third part is avoiding the rich mentality. Being scrappy is the secret here. By scrappy, I mean becoming like having the experimentation framework done. So we gather a lot of rich insights and data from various research trips. The research we do, be it qualitative, be it quantitative, and different product analysis. So if we can approach this projects in growth experimentations, as I was saying, you will ship more often and learn from them as well, because shipping is learning. Let's be honest over here. So having such operating model can actually help you exceed expectations as well. Because suppose say, you got some insights from the research trips and you want to make some quick adjustments. Like you don't want to make a whole product out of it right now, because clearly we will not have the budget, we will not have the resources, etc. So if we can actually implement the growth experimentation part, that hey, I'll just tweak something and let me just see after 2-3 weeks how the results are running right now. So we will get to know some if our hypothesis is right or wrong and how it is going. So sometimes you can do like this crappy research testings and show the results to your team to expedite a feature launch as well. And this has happened, by the way. This keeps on happening. So you have to make a case that why you should do it, because of this insights, right? And how it can solve some business problems. Because we have to think that if we are working for profit organizations, how it will impact the business and alongside the people. So there are only upsides and very few downsides in this framework, which is becoming much more experimentation side. The next one is like becoming an advocate, not just literally, but don't just consume, but contribute. It's hard. I have been still dealing with it. What I mean by that is contribute in small things, like, make the work process simpler. How can we do that? Maybe use Slack in a way to inform others better. People should understand what you're trying to say, more so in this work from home culture right now. And if we do that, if you make the work processes simpler and understandable by others in the team, people actually trust you more. Trust you more to set them for successes. And that's really hard, and that's really important. So how to increase efficiency in your design team and maybe in the engineering team, and how do you do that? Maybe you do some workshops to understand brainstorm better. Maybe you do something like created a framework to have a better handoff in between design and engineering. And maybe do some design documentation, or like what you did for the products, to understand as well that how your team's work processes work. So all of this kind of things will set them for success. And this efficiency, this time management for others, it shows that you are not only caring about yourself, you are caring about the team as well. Like being empathetic, not only just for the end users, for your team members as well. And the very last one is like creating a safe environment. Trust me, nobody wants to work with an asshole, and sorry for the word, but yeah, that is the truth. So you have to be open-minded, understand what people are trying to say. People are coming from different backgrounds, have different perspectives, and very often you will get to learn something new. Take responsibilities. That's very, very important. When you are actually taking responsibilities, follow up on them. Tell them that what you are doing and where you are at. If you are blocked by something, that also you should actually communicate. Maybe over communicate about your progress, right? So understand your teammates' strengths and growth areas, and ask them if you can help them unblock in any way possible. So these are your very small gestures that goes a long way. It's about you taking care of their well-being as well, and create very good team health structure as well. So yeah, those are the few things. So if we actually again repeat that, what are the tips which you have to follow to accelerate your impact process in an organization? First one is the reusability by default section. Second one is using tools and libraries as much as possible to make sure the product development process is becoming smoother. Avoiding the rich mentality and becoming growth experimentation framework. Then becoming an advocate for simplifying their work processes. And then last one is creating a safe environment. So that's the idea. Now, when you are trying to do all of this, you obviously have to measure the impact, right? Because we generally have to measure everything to understand where we are going, where we were, and where we are right now, and where we have to go. So in order to measure measure impact, first thing you have to do is documenting your impact, right? Because documenting your work is one thing and documenting your impact is another thing. Now, few ways how I document is one thing, keeping evidence of my achievements. Now, how do I do that? Via Slack messages, maybe, if some teammates or my manager told me like, hey, good job, great job with this thing, it really helped bring maybe X decrease or Y increase, the engineers are really doing good with this ecosystem, whatever, like all of those kind of things which brought some value. And it can be through Slack messages, it can be through emails, etc., all of those kind of things. And that's what, like, keeping evidence of your achievements. And why do you do that? Because it will help with that yearly review process, so that you don't have to think too much that, oh my god, what did I do? You just have to go to that document and just look into it, that hey, these are the things which people told me about. Then one thing which I started doing is weekly retrospective sessions with myself. So I'll take 1 hour or maybe 30 minutes to start off with, whatever actually floats your boat. Write down your weekly achievements, whatever you have thought, whatever you have done, some special moments, some learnings, some growth areas, all of that. Now, why do I do that? Because again, I tend to forget a lot that what exactly happened over the month or the whole quarter. When I have this retrospective sessions write up documented, I know that, oh yeah, I worked on this X project, it made this kind of thing, we did this, I learned this thing, I got really good comments on about this parts. And the last one is documenting your one-on-one sessions, not just with your manager, but start having daily one-on-one sessions with your peers as well, like maybe your engineering manager or the engineer you are working with, or the product manager, the researcher, anybody, any stakeholder you are actually working with, the product analyst. Try and do that, because by doing that, you will get to know that person much more better. The person will actually understand you, and then you will also understand what are the expectations people have from you, right? And what are you doing good, what you need to do more, and kind of like your growth areas. So it goes beyond just your manager's overview. It gives you a wide variety of spectrum, and you can actually work as a product designer for the product. So you have different stakeholders from the team with whom you can actually understand what is happening, what is going to happen, all of that. So document these 3 things, like evidences, keeping evidences, having weekly retrospective sessions, and having one-on-one sessions, and documenting that part as well. And trust me, this is very helpful, because once you have this yearly review session coming up, you won't be panicking too much that, hey, what to write, I don't even remember what I did. And this is really good for a lot of companies has their yearly review session where you have to review yourself, so you will have a better idea of how you were performing last year versus this year, what have changed, etc., what you need to change now. So yeah, all of these things will help you to measure your impact. The second part is socializing your impact. Now you have a very good framework in process that, hey, I'll do this and that. But one thing which is really important, and that people need to know that you are creating impact. It's not just your work speaks for itself. You have to speak for the work you have been doing, because a lot of the organization will have a lot of stakeholders, lots of people might not know who you are. So how can you actually make a space for yourself? So levels of communication which I try to do to accelerate the impact, and it solves much more than just the impact. First of all, understanding the people dynamics in an organization. Now, what do I mean by people dynamics? That, in every company where you go, you will see that certain people are responsible for certain things. And you will also understand, if you talk to them, that what is important for them, what do they look for, what are their expectations, all of that. Try to understand that. So that's hard, but try to do that more. Try to go beyond the design circle and try to talk to much more business people, product people, researcher, all of that. So understand that people dynamics. Get to know these people and their needs from the product, because this will help you to understand what to build. Maybe you can have that part in your mind as well. And third part, which is very important, is like showcasing your work often with the underlying decision making. What it does is that by showcasing your work, you are actually telling them that, hey, this is what I'm doing. And by telling them that the underlying decision making, that why actually you are doing the work you are doing. So it solves two problems, obviously, people getting to know you, your work, and your decision making framework and how you think about things, right? And fourth part, obviously, which is very obvious, like giving transparency, that what exactly you are trying to do right now, what you will do in the next week or month or in the coming quarter. So think beyond the present, think about the anticipated future. And the last part is help to set others for success. So talk to your team members, talk to your stakeholders, talk and understand what do they want. Do one-on-ones, do some coffee chats, whatever you want to, and try and understand what do they want from this job, what do they want from this product, and how can you help that accelerate as well. Once you start doing it, right, people will actually understand your impact in their work as well, and that helps, that actually compounds the impact which you are having. And all of this, when you do, the last part comes measuring the impact. Actually, now you have to define your OKRs, your personal OKRs, right, objectives and key responsibilities. So the way I think about it is obviously two parts, the quantitative part of it and the qualitative part of it. Now, quantitative part of it, how do you define the OKRs is, how the projects you have worked on, how they're performing. So that's very, very defined. You know how the numbers are working or not. The impact of this projects on the business, so how it is working in the whole ecosystem of the businesses, whole umbrella. And then third part is creating and implementing successful product. Sometimes we work on the projects which have been predefined, but the next level is, you defining few projects and trying to do some growth experimentation, and real product comes out of it. If that happens, start doing more of it, maybe start to understand the ecosystem, start to understand the businesses. And if this happens, this is really great for your impact. People actually know that, you were not just a transactional designer. You can think beyond it. You have this business impact, you have the product thinking abilities and all of that. And the qualitative part of it is very much about having a team health for which you are very much responsible, right? How can you help secure a team health which is good, where people are feeling motivated, where people have the efficiency, where people have a good work-life balance, and that's all of that, and people are feeling positive about what they're doing. All of this helps bring a team health together. And how can you actually create some dent into it? And the next part is your influence over people. This is very, very important, that how do you create influence over these people or the stakeholders, where your decision making is very important, and your influence over the decision making. These two are very tied together, that your influence over people and the decision. So how do you do that? If we just look back, that the kind of work you have been doing, being transparent, actually showing the kind of thinking you have, right? All of this actually comes together and make sure that when people start trusting you with the work, with the job you have been doing, right? And it goes much more beyond the screens which you are making. So if you can influence the decision making, it creates a huge lot of difference. One of my ex-managers used to say this thing, that in order to build a product, you have to influence people. Okay, once the people are there, you will build the product you want. So do that. Try and do that much more. So yeah, this is how I try to measure my impact. So in order to measure your impact, you first have to document your impact. And it's not just one-time thing. You have to keep doing it. Second thing is obviously socializing your impact, that when people know about you, your work, and what you've been doing. And that's when you define your OKRs and measure your impact by this framework, and the quantitative part, the qualitative part, and how you have been doing in all of those aspects. Once you have written down all of this and show it to people, trust me, it helps. It helps a lot, because you are doing the job of almost your manager, what they have to do. So if you are showing at the end of the year that, hey, for over the 1 year, I have been tracking this about myself, and you can actually include this in your one-on-ones to have a promotion, maybe if you want to ask for it, that, hey, this is what I've been doing. This is have been my impact over projects, over people and whatnot. It makes a case for yourself. You're always trying to make a case for yourself. So how do you make your case so strong and make it easier for other people to give you the promotion which you deserve? So that's how it is. Lastly, we have to think that, this is the way it is. The consistent decision making is the key to impact creation. So you always have to make some decisions. You're always making decisions anyway. Just be much more mindful about the decisions you are making. And trust me, you will create some positive impact for sure.
I hope you enjoyed this session and have crazy good notes around how to prove your importance to your management and the impact that you're creating. And if you want to learn more about how to actually tell great stories to your stakeholders so that they hear you more, they understand your importance, you can learn from this session that we have with Charu Chaudha, where she tells about storytelling in design. This is all for this video. If you like this, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in that video.